Hi, this is Chef Janie Pendleton, and I'm back to show you how to make lemon and lime marmalade. Now, I've made the orange marmalade for you, and that's in the freezer. But now, today we've made our lime and our lemon extracts, so I wanted to use up the rest of the lemons and limes to make some more jams. But the skins on the limes are like the little cuties. They're a really thin skin. See if you can show this. So there's not a lot of pith on this, but if you like, you can go ahead and scrape it off and get rid of some of the pith. You don't have to. On the larger lemons, however, there's more pith, so we want to skin those and we want to get rid of that. Okay? Then we're going to chop this into, or slice this into some really small threads, and we're going to put the whole thing here in our stock pot. Now, we need about 3 cups worth. Okay, so we remove the ends. And we chop the little yellow part up on the ends, the lemon peel up on that. And here we've left this with the rind. Now we've just taken this and held it up like this. We've cut off the rind. We're going to throw that out. Then we take this on its side. We slice this up like this. And what we have is we have some pieces that look like this. We're going to take and de-seed it. Make sure we've got all the seeds out. Here's 2 more. There's not too many seeds in lemons. Usually between 5 to 6. Make sure you get all the seeds out. We don't want anybody biting on a seed. This takes a little bit of effort. Look through it. Chop it up. Throw it in the pan. Okay? Now when we have 3 cups worth, I will return. Okay, so now we've got about 5 to 6 lemons. And we went through here and made sure there was no seeds in here. We don't want anybody breaking any teeth. And here we're just going to add 1 cup of water. We're going to add 1/4 cup of lemon juice. Give that a nice stir. This will ensure that we have a lot of liquid to thicken up there. We've turned our stove on to medium-high. And while that's coming up to temperature, we're going to add our sugar. And we're just going to add 5 cups of sugar. And we're going to stir between every couple of cups here. We're going to bring this up to a boil. Between each addition of the 5 cups of sugar, we're going to stir, and then we're just going to sink in our candy thermometer here, making sure that the tip doesn't touch the bottom of the stove, the bottom of the pan. Make sure that it's not touching the bottom. And we're going to turn it so we can read it here. And we're going to cook the rinds here and the lemon juices until it reaches 220 degrees on the candy thermometer. And you can see that here. Jelly is 220 degrees. And then if you come over here at 220 degrees, you'll see it will go to the thread stage if you're not careful. We don't want that to happen, okay? So that's why we want to kind of keep an eye on our liquids. And you can double this recipe if you like. That's fine. This is just the amount that I wanted. We don't eat. I have a lot of orange marmalades and stuff that we eat, so we don't eat a lot of lemon marmalade, but I do like to have it, you know, on lemon poppy seed muffins or whatever once in a while. This is really good with anything with cream cheese on it. And sometimes we'll even top this off with a lemon cheesecake. We'll put a little bit of dollop on this on each piece, and it is absolutely delicious. So we're going to finish adding our sugar by 1/2 cups amounts. And then every cup. Just going to give a stir. And we're bringing this up to a boil. Now this will take probably about 25 to 30 minutes to get this nice and thick and up to the 220 stage. You want these rinds, you want to taste these rinds once in a while and make sure they're nice and soft. So you want to boil it up and bring it up to a simmer, and you want to simmer it for at least 20 to 25 minutes. You want these rinds, when you take one out and you bite into it, it should be soft and not crispy. So just grab one of the thicker rinds in here and make sure that here's a nice thick one. And you just want to take and you want to make sure that that it's nice and soft. Then you want to bring it up to the 220 degrees, okay? So first make sure you got soft rinds, and then you start raising the temperature. Now I have just maintained a about 200 degree temperature here, just for about 20 minutes here, so we can get these rinds nice and done, nice and soft. And while that's simmering, you just want to keep checking, make sure it doesn't go over that 210 mark, 220 mark, because we're going to come up to there in just a minute here. Right? You have to adjust your heat. Just keep a nice slow simmer going. And the rinds are nice and soft. It took about 20 minutes. Give this another stir. And I gave it a taste, and I felt like it needed more sugar. So I'm going to put another cup of sugar in here. That makes it a total of about 5.5 to 6 cups of sugar, and I think that will work for me. If you want it sweeter, add more. If you don't want it as sweet, add a little less. That's fine. I'm going to be adding sure gel to this, so, and you don't have to add sure gel, just like my orange marmalade. You don't have to add it. Marmalades kind of cure over a period of 3 to 4 weeks. It takes about 3 or 4 weeks for them to really set up, but I like to add the sure gel. Add about a half package of sure gel, and that helps it to set up. So now we're going to go ahead and crank the heat up on this since the rinds are done, and we are going to get the temperature up to that 220 degrees. We have about 20 degrees left. We want to get this about to 220, 225, right in there somewhere. Don't go over 225. 230 is thread stage. You don't want to go that far with sugar. There's a lot of sugar in this, so. Okay? And when we get up to temperature and we get this thick enough, I'm going to add a few drops of the lemon oil. And remember, oils are 4 times stronger than extracts. Keep this nice and stirred down. Okay, we've reached 225 degrees. And this still looks a little loose to me, but we're going to go ahead and give it the cold plate test. And what you want to do is get some of this liquid in here onto a ramekin or a white or some sort of a plate that has been sat in your ice cube tray. And looky right there, I got a seed out of there. The seeds will float to the top, that's a good thing. And you just want to kind of roll it around. So it's not quite ready yet, it needs a little more time. It should start getting, it's starting to get there. I'm looking, but I don't see any other seeds. I think that was the only one I pulled out of there. So we're going to continue to let this go. And we're just going to keep an eye on this. We don't want it to go to thread stage. So I crank the heat up on this just a little bit. Be sure and keep an eye on it. Do not leave the stove while you're doing this. Keep an eye on our temperature. We're at almost 230 degrees. So I'm just going to grab some of this, pour it on a new cold plate, and look at that. It's setting up really, really well. Look at that. Make sure and get this plate nice and cold. I just set it down in the ice cube tray for about 10 minutes. I always put about 3 or 4 plates in the refrigerator, in the freezer, excuse me, down in that ice cube tray. Okay, that looks perfect. We're going to put that back in here. And just to ensure that it works for me, alright, now I'm just going to add a few drops of the lemon oil. Oh wow, that really added some scent. That'll really sweeten that up. And by the way, the oils like that, especially with orange marmalade and lemon and lime marmalades like this, adding a little bit of the oil, just about 5 or 6 drops of this oil, that really helps to immediately gets rid of the bitterness. So if you don't want to add as much sugar, just be sure and add about 5 to 10 drops of oil. Your taste preference, of course. And then we're just going to kind of mix that in. Now I'm going to turn the heat down just a little bit here because it's boiling already. We're going to keep it boiling. But we don't want this to discolor, so we have to be careful. Now we're going to go ahead here and we're going to add a half of a package of sure gel. And I'll put the other half in with the lime marmalade. So we're just splitting one box of Sure Gel in half. It's the powder version. And we're going to boil this for 1 minute. And then we'll be ready to fill our hot sterilized jars. Okay, we set our timer. Our minute is almost up on the boil. Go. Okay, so we're going to turn this off. We're going to take it off the heat. We're going to transfer our candy thermometer here onto the limeade, making sure that the bottom of the mercury point doesn't touch the bottom of the pan. Turn it so we can see it. And we're just going to continue to give this a stir. And then we're going to let this cool down for just a few minutes. And then we're going to pour it in some hot sterilized jars. I'll be back in just a few minutes and show you how we do that. Now I'm just going to slowly simmer my jars for 10 to 15 minutes. And then when that is done, I'm just going to turn the stove off and just let that sit in its own steam. And my lids and my bands are in there as well. My lemon marmalade, of course, is done, and it's been sitting here for about 5 minutes cooling. And it's really starting to thicken up. And I didn't need to add any color to this. I just added the lemon oil. But now my limes are done cooking. And I've almost reached my temperature. This is starting to thicken up quicker. Now the lime rinds needed a little longer. They were a little tougher. They need a little longer to cook, so I cooked them for about 25 minutes. But as you can see, it's lacking some color. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a few drops of this green food coloring. And I just got it all over my hand. As you can see, I spilt it. That wasn't a good thing. So I'm going to do this. I need both hands, so I'll be right back. Alright, now we're just going to take and we're going to ladle this nice hot lemon marmalade into our jars. You can use jelly-sized jars, it doesn't matter. Just going to keep going until we have about ½ inch headspace. Probably about 1 inch if this is going to go in the freezer like mine is. Okay. It's perfect. You can see here I've got the perfect space. Starting to harden up a little bit. It's got some nice coloring to it. The sugars do turn the lemonade or the lemon marmalade a little bit orange, but that's fine. It's still all good. And we're just going to continue to do this until all the jars are full. Okay, now we're just going to take a nice clean sterile rag. Get the water for the rag out of my pot that I boiled my jars in, and we're just going to clean the lids and we're going to clean the jars really good. And if you see any seeds floating to the top here, you want to be sure and remove those. The seeds will come to the top. Okay, and we're just going to keep that nice and clean like that. And we're going to take our hot lid and our sterile bands. And we're just going to tighten it down like this. And then we're just this kind of got some jelly on the sides. So we're going to clean it up really nicely. Now mine, I'm going to set aside for 24 hours. And then I'm just going to put them in the freezer after 24 hours. Now you can water bath can these if you like at this point. They might even seal themselves if you put it in really, really hot. I let mine cool for a few minutes. But if you put it in right away, really hot, and invert these upside down and then tip them back up, they'll probably seal. But I personally, it has a lot of sugar in them, it has the lemon juice in them, you'll probably be pretty safe. But I personally like to, I have a big freezer, so I freeze my jams. So this is my version of doing it, and you can do it either way. So here you have it, my lemon marmalade. This is Chef J.D. Pendleton. Enjoy.